This video is about Joe Rogan's podcast 543 with the guest, of course, being Sam Harris, and I believe it was 5-6 years old episode, given that it's 2020 right now. This podcast was very refreshing. It had a lot of new ideas and perspectives on spirituality, human consciousness, and neurochemistry, etc. In this 3-hour-long podcast, the one that stood out the most was the topic and discussion about free will towards the end. This was my introduction to free will because I never heard about it prior listening to this podcast. In order to give you a sense of my vocabulary range, I had to go back, pause the podcast, Google the terminologies like determinism, objectively speaking, subjectively, and all these philosophy concept words, and then come back and resume listening to truly understand what they both were conversing. The first time I came across Sam Harris was on YouTube. I believe it was a TED Talk on AI. He ended the episode by saying that we have to admit that we are essentially creating some sort of God, referring to artificial intelligence. I have a theory that... Are you ready? Okay. Our ancestors, our creators, God created us, the humans, and we turned out to be far more intelligent than them, that we destroyed whoever created us and they don't exist anymore, but we call them God because they created us. And now we're creating AI. Wait for it. They're gonna destroy us and call us God because we created them. Don't throw that at me. It's okay. Calm down. It's just an idea, guys. Oh my God. So Sam argues that your current state of mind is a product of different variables that you're not even responsible for. Variables in the sense your DNA, your genes, the location that you grew up in, the life experiences, whatever, all these kind of different combination is what is creating the state of mind that you are in right now. So he starts to elaborate on this concept with Joe Rogan by explaining some sort of experiments that he did using fMRI imaging, and Joe Rogan is like, that's not a good experiment to convince me, and there's this nice good discussion going on. I had to stop and understand how to relate to what they both had to say to my life, and I did recognize certain moments in my life where I did feel like I didn't have answer to as of why I did certain things that I did. For instance, I moved to Canada all by myself and I didn't know a lot of people here, so it was everything was new. I had to start from the scratch. So when a friend or a family member comes up and asks me, why did you risk all your money, your security for something that doesn't seem very promising? Why would you do that? And I would say I followed my instincts, but honestly, I couldn't really articulate what made me commit to such decision and move forward with confidence that it is going to work out for me. At the same time, I don't know why they couldn't see what I see. I see a positive consequence by moving out of my comfort zone and seeking growth, both mentally, emotionally, and financially, and everything. But they don't see that. They see that as something unnecessary when you already have what you need. Again, I can't really put a finger on and say this is why I want to be and live this way. It's just, there are moments like this where I don't have an answer. So I came up with this concept that maybe, it's a maybe, okay? It's just a concept that my subconscious mind is going through an intensive analysis based on the data that it's getting every single day, and it's coming to a conclusion based on my capability, what I'm capable of, based on my previous experience or the resources that are available to me. And this subconscious mind is trying to communicate with my conscious mind and say, hey, listen, you got this, you got to do it. So it's sending me this signal through an emotion. That emotion is this intuition. I have this strong intuition to commit to that decision and just do it. If that makes sense. Oh my God. Now, I might be wrong, but I'd love to find out. All of my major decisions that I made in my life is based on this unexplainable feeling, which is a product of my subconscious analysis. For instance, okay, listen to this. This also, like, I struggle. I hope there's someone else who feels the same way, okay? When somebody comes to you and says that, hey, you inspired me to do something. It can be something trivial, okay? Like, you inspired me to go to the gym 3 times a week. And I'm like, I can't take credit for that. If you ask me, why do you choose to go to the gym on a Friday night opposed to a nightclub? Again, I have no concrete answer to that. I don't want to take credit for inspiring someone because I'm not sacrificing anything. It's not like I want to be somewhere else and I am choosing to be here and going to the gym. It's my personal experience, okay? It's me. And so all these kind of moments that I have where I stand in the front of the mirror and I'm like, what am I doing this for? Why am I the way I am? I don't have an answer to that, and I believe it's okay. These kind of anecdotes made me relate to what Sam had to say in the podcast. It made sense to me. For some reason, it was like a light bulb going and I was like, yes, I knew it. I knew I'm not authoring my life. All jokes aside, the reason why it's important for Sam Harris to for us to admit that free will is an illusion is to change our ethical views of good and evil. Essentially, to have some sort of compassion towards psychopaths. I do know someone else had the same idea, but towards extremely aggressive dogs. And Cesar Millan is known to rehabilitate them. If I were to ask him, can you tell me if there is a dog in this world born with evil intention? He would be like, absolutely not. What are you talking about? So according to him, when a dog is exhibiting aggression, it's an outcome of something deeper. Like it's probably had to do with certain variables, just like how Sam Harris is talking about different variables. Now, I'd like to extract the idea of how he uses variables like environment, diet, training and discipline to influence these animals to change their extremely aggressive behavior and turn them into new leaf. So according to Caesar, a dog does not choose to bite somebody, it's just an reaction. Again, I can relate to what Caesar has to say in terms of dogs because it's easier to understand because dogs cannot rationalize. It's harder for us to understand for a human because we have the capability to rationalize, think of the consequence, and understand other people's pain, emotion, and all those kinds of things. But what if I tell you that what you do is a well thought out reaction to the given situation? Just for the sake of understanding, just like a dog, how it just reacts and not think about things because it's just what its brain is telling it to do given the situation and its past experience. Similarly, what if the time span for our reaction is way longer? It could be an hour, it could be 2 years, it could be 10 years. We think about it, we think about it, we think about it, and in the end, we decide. And that decision is a reaction to all these kind of different influences and situation that you are in. Essentially, your brain is doing all the work for you, and free will is just an illusion. In order to understand this better, Sam uses Charles Whitman's case as an example, where Charles Whitman was this crazy guy who murdered his own wife and mom, and he's just a mass murderer. You can read about him in Wikipedia. So according to Sam, he had left a suicide note to the police saying somebody needs to autopsy his brain because it's something that is overcoming his personality and he's experiencing this rage that is out of his control. To me, it sounds like a dog with rabies. It's very easy for people to sympathize and understand when a dog is attacking people because it has rabies. And I really like when Sam uses this term, this phrase of victim of biology. Eventually, what he's trying to say is Charles Whitman was a victim of biology, just like a dog with rabies attacking people. Now, what do? You just have to lock them up. It sounds useless right now to argue about whether or not these people had free will or not. But I think what Sam is trying to say is just to have an open mind can pave the way to look in the right direction for a possible solution, for a more ethical punishment or some sort of the way we indict people. In conclusion, what I understand is that we need to narrow down all these kinds of variables in the most scientific manner as possible. Let's say that you're on a highway and you're driving and you're following the rules, because you're rational. You know the consequence of breaking a law. When you are driving a road that is leading up to an isolated location and there's not much consequence there, the road is going through a jungle or whatever, you're not going to follow any kind of rule. Now we have to understand what makes somebody else who's driving right next to you on a freeway or a highway to choose to go way above the speed limit. What is making him to do that? What is that variable or set of variables, different set of variables that is influencing him to do that? In order to narrow it down to that level of detail is going to be a challenge, man. It's something I don't think I can even imagine what sort of technology we should come up with to detect that, if that makes sense. Essentially, that's what he wants. Essentially, he wants us to view psychopaths as how Cesar Millan views extremely aggressive dogs. Now, he has the tools to rehabilitate those dogs, but we don't have the tools to rehabilitate these psychopaths because it's way beyond our level of understanding and we have a lot of limitations. Oh my God. It is a lot to take in. But I do understand. The thing is, I do understand though. I can see what he's trying to say. But at the same time, it's impossible to prove it. Anyway, until we figure out this crazy problem, we just have to keep this conversation going. And I hope I did justice to that. All we can do is live and learn. So, yeah, that's all we can do, right? We can only... I don't know what I'm talking about anymore. All right, see you soon.